Of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. The phone lines are open. Call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788. That's 220-WSTU. It's time for Stuart Laser Talk with your host, Dr. Tred J. Rosacker.
I'm 5'10" and 242 pounds.
I always say this is the biggest I'm ever going to be, and I said that like 20 pounds ago.
A third of Americans are obese, another third is overweight.
Obesity is the biggest threat to the health, welfare, and future of this country.
I've always been overweight.
I've got diabetes,
Sleep apnea, heart disease.
everything's hurting now.
It's a lot easier to lose weight than it is to keep weight off.
This is probably going to be the first generation of children who are going to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents.
18% of our children right now are obese.
It's not only health, it's about survival and well-being of the United States as a nation.
You don't crave broccoli, and our generation has grown up craving a Big Mac.
I want to think that there's something better for me.
Unless we're able to control this epidemic, we're going to have an abundance of chronic disease.
All of us have to be part of the solution to reduce obesity.
The weight of the nation is out of control, but we can fix that.
If we don't now take this as a really urgent national priority, we are all going to pay a really serious price.
Obesity will crush the United States in oblivion.
Good morning. My message today on the Slim Body Laser Spa's Health and Wellness Show is how a fat, hopeless doctor, me, who struggled with my own weight problem, finally found a solution for my weight loss. And at the same time, I was able to reverse my type 2 diabetes. Yes, my name is Dr. Tred Rosacker, and I am the owner and a happy client at my own Slim Body Laser Spa. I lost 12 inches. That's 4 inches in 3 spots around my midsection in only 4 weeks, laying on my back, listening to music. I mean that. It was incredible. And then I ate less, and I was able to lose 10 pounds a month for 3 months. And I dropped 38 pounds. And to say it was a life-changing experience was an understatement because of my high blood sugar, which had been going on a lot longer than I would even like to tell you. A lot of you out there have hyperglycemia that's heading you right into type 2 diabetes and all the horrible things that can come from it. And if you have hyperglycemia or you're not sure, please pay attention today to this show because I'm going to go over that in depth. I am the doctor and the owner at the Slim Body Laser Spa, and I practice on East Ocean Boulevard, right across the street from the Fresh Market at 2311 Southeast Ocean Boulevard, and that's here in Stuart, Florida. I am about a quarter of a mile from the beaches on East Ocean Boulevard. It's a beautiful freestanding spa. We have private rooms, a nice big fountain in front, a comfortable deck. You can sit outside now that it's a little cooler and enjoy and wait for your turn. I'm using an FDA cleared low-level laser, something which is FDA has found to be safe. And it's really designed for spot fat reduction, body sculpting, and skin tightening. You know, the kind of stuff that you might go to the plastic surgeon for, you know, to have your belly fat sucked out or something like that. And, you know, with those other procedures, there's risks involved, the fat freezing, the fat cooling, the fat burning, the ultrasound, the sucking. These are invasive procedures which have a certain amount of risk of injury and even death with some of them. And they've been always looking for this non-invasive procedure that could get the same results without the downtime, without any risk of any injury at all. And yes, it does require to eat a little bit less, but most people understand that. But we can work with people that have eating issues too. So when you apply this device, this laser, It is applied with what we call a paddle. Now, a paddle is about the size of an Android, of an iPhone cell phone. And if you were to take, I think someday they're going to figure out a way of putting diodes in a cell phone, and then you can put it right on your skin and move it around every 10 minutes and you can lose inches, because that's basically what the paddles do. You lay on your back and you relax. You just lift up your shirt or expose the area that you want to have shrunk or reduced. And then we put these paddles. We just lay them on the skin. There's no pressure. They're not hot or cold. They're just normal room temperature. And then we turn on the red light. It's 140 milliwatts at 628 nanometers, and that just means a gentle red near infrared light. And after 8 to 10 minutes of that energy being absorbed by the fat cells will form little microscopic pores. Basically, the cell membrane becomes porous. Little holes form, microscopically, of course. And then the water, the glycerol, and the fatty acid leak out of the cell. So it leaks. It doesn't move it really fast. It's a very slow process, but it's very sure and predictable, which is important. And then after 10 minutes, 1/8 of an inch of fat has been released. It's been liberated, and it's laying in the tissue just under the skin. And then we move that paddle to another spot for 10 minutes there and another spot for 10 minutes there. Now, our machine has 8 paddles, and we can move them 3 times. So we can put 8 across the lower apron, your lower abdomen. We can move it up, 8 paddles across the upper abdomen, and we can put 4 on the right love handle or muffin top and 4 on the left muffin top. And that's a 30-minute session. And good morning, Diane. And so as a result of that 30-minute session, it releases 400 to 600 calories. And those calories need to be released. They need to be removed from the body. And the only way that we can do it safely is to consume them and use them as energy. And that's a good thing. Okay. You don't want to have somebody sucking pieces of tissue out of your body with a cannula or tube. It's not a very healthy, good choice to do when you can simply just burn it as energy. So in order to assist that process after the 30 minutes on the laser, you step into a machine called a whole body vibration plate. And it's a triplanar, 3 planes, hyper acceleration plate. So you stand on it, and basically it just goes up and down. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. It alternates. So it kind of moves you side to side, and it can go fast. It can go slow. You can lean forward. You can lean back. It's a super exercise, very effective, it's safe, easy exercise. So at the same time, what it's doing is it's pushing those calories from the outer space where that laser was applied, and they're moving it into the visceral system, which means where you burn energy. Now, the only requirement to get rid of the next 600 calories is just to be hungry. 2 to 3 hours, no food before you come in. And, you're getting hungry. You know that. And then what happens is all of a sudden, the 600 calories is pushed into the system in 10 to 15 minutes by whole body vibration. And you literally, I don't care if you're 95 years old or 12, you want to be 15 or 16, your body will absorb and burn that energy over anything else because it's prioritizes, because it's fresh, fatty acid, good nutrition for your body. Body will always choose fat because of the energy that's involved. And then after 2 hours to 3 hours, that caloric load has been consumed. It's been burned as energy, and you can go back to your normal eating schedule. And in that 4-hour interval, you have lost a 1/2 inch to 1 inch in 3 separate places. That's how the process works. And what we do is we repeat it again and again and again. We take pictures, we do measurements, and we also do a nutritional evaluation to help you to make better choices with food. There's a lot of confusion about it. Just go online and you'll come out of that thinking, should it be keto? Should I do the cabbage soup diets? There's the Mediterranean diet. There's the paleo diet. There's the keto diet. There's HCG, there's phentermine, there's the new low is the new process. I think I was hearing people tell me. They're all just low calorie plans wrapped up in a new name. I promise you. You can learn very effectively how to walk into Fresh Market or Publix or any fruit, anywhere where there's some vegetables, because that's important, and make much better choices when you get out of my little nutritional class that I have with all my clients. All right. So that's what I do. I want to reach out and say hello to amazing people that I met at the Port St. Lucie Civic Center Art and Craft Fair. So they opened up the parking lot in front of the Civic Center, and they had about 200 exhibitors, and we were fortunate enough to be one of them. And I'll tell you, it was slammed. There was a lot of people there, super appropriate. Most, I would say 50-50 with the masks, but nobody was glomming on anybody or glommering all over each other. They have this appropriate distance. It was fresh air. It was sunlight. And yes, we have at least 20 leads, and we already had 3 people come in and sign yesterday. We got 5 scheduled on Wednesday, and I'm able to help people, and that really, really makes my day. I am so happy to help people. And for a while there last year, man, I was thinking maybe I'm going to get into the real estate business or something. Not really. I think I'd rather just be a fisherman, but it's come back, and I want to welcome everybody back to the South Florida area. This is paradise. It's amazing to talk to people. Of many of the people that came up, I would say maybe 20-30% have just bought a house here. I mean, they're leaving the cold, lockdown, scary, or at least for the winter they are, and they're buying property here, and it's a wonderful opportunity for Stuart. It's just been great. And I also would like to say that the people that put on the Port Salerno Seafood Festival, which was held last week at the Twisted Tuna, it was not the same people, but that was the original Dock Authority. They're having a seafood festival this weekend at Port Salerno at Port St. Lucie Civic Center, the same place that we had the craft fair. Is going to be a seafood festival this weekend, and they have lots of seafood. It's put on by the Pirates of the Treasure Coast, who is the group that normally would put on the seafood festival. So they know they got their stuff. They got their ducks in a row. They know how to run a good event. They have a lot of great vendors there. And if you're looking for something to do and you want to come up and meet Dr. Tread and see if everything I told you is true, you can come down to that seafood festival this weekend at the Civic Center. Starts at 10 o'clock, ends at 6, and you know what to do. All right. I do want to let everybody know that we have free. I always had this policy of having a free consultation, and it doesn't mean that it's not valuable, because an hour with me costs about $300. But the reason why I offer free consultations at the Slim Body Laser Spa is because there's nowhere for you to really find out if this is a process that might help you. It's normally when we look at a doctor or a procedure like a knee replacement, we can call up somebody and say, hey, how did you do with that knee replacement? Did it help? Was it good? And you'll get some good information. Maybe you can go online. There's some decent information online. But when you call up and ask a friend, hey, have you ever tried that non-invasive low-level laser, the body sculpting process, the Lapex? Did you get any result from that? They'd look at you like, come again? What are you you mean that thing they put on the outside of your body, and then they think it's cool sculpting or the safe sculpt, and you're not going to get the right information. I promise you. You need to come in and listen to me, where I can demonstrate the process. I can show you the FDA clearance. I can show you before and after pictures. You'll see my credentials, my malpractice, everything that it takes to be really a professional practice is very common for me at my office. And in other places, I'll tell you, it's worse than the Wild West. It was even before the West had sheriffs. Okay. And there was snake oil salesmen and people that showed up in town. You ever hear the term being tarred and feathered? That's what they used to do to somebody that came to a town, promoted a cure or a solution, said it would work, charged people, and then when it didn't work, they tarred and feathered them. That means smear tar on them and put chicken feathers on them so that they went to the next town. Everybody would know that these people were, that they weren't honest. They didn't have a jail. They tarred and feathered them. I'll tell you, I am a doctor. I know what is right and wrong. I have a very critical mind. And when I go online and I look at the websites and I look at the claims and I look at the processes, even at the store in the morning, when I go by the Fresh Market or the Publix, and they have that magazine, it's the Woman's World, and it says they have two people on the cover. One lost 360 pounds. That's right, 360 pounds. Think how heavy she must have been. And the other one on the picture lost 210 or something. And then it said, and you can do this too, following this simple diet or some kind of diet. I don't know if it's a simple one. I mean, they don't go through the details on the cover, but you look at that and you go, oh my God, look at that. They look like and they do look like a different person. Do you think that really applies to the majority of the people out there? For one thing, very few people are that heavy. And but those are just to shock you, to get your attention. That's all that is. So if you want to find out if what my process can help you and you live in the Stewart, Port St. Lucie, Jupiter, Hobe Sound, Jensen Beach, Fort Pierce, Vero Beach, Okeechobee area, call us up, come in for a free consultation. I will listen to you. I will find out if it's something that I can help you with. And if I can't, and I think there's a better process out there, I will tell you that, because I don't want people that don't get results. It makes me unhappy, and I don't want to be unhappy. All right. So it's a free consultation. And right now we're offering a $49 Discovery Day one-time visit. So if you come in and you're a good candidate and you'd like to try it, and I think you're appropriate, I will throw you a $49. Hey, check it out. And that means you'll get a treatment. The laser will be applied to your body fat, and you can look and see for yourself if it's something that benefits you. All right. Thank you for that. That's my what I do, and we're there to help you. So I'm gonna change ideas here a little bit. I'll tell you what I find going on, and I used to love in New York, I used to listen to WCBS radio in the morning with my dad, back in the 70s and 80s. And the news was almost like something that became like morning coffee. And I find that it keeps me engaged. It helps wake me up. And recently, as I've gotten older, and my father has passed many years ago, and I am now 60 years old, I will fall into a habit of listening to the news in the morning. And I'll tell you, it amazes me, the propaganda and the amount of information that just hammering and hammering and hammering this fear about, and these results and these statistics and these new variants and these new mutations. And then they have a heart jerking story about a mother who was infected and died, on the way to the testing center. And I mean, and these are real stories. I'm not saying it's fake news here, but what I'm saying is it is definitely not the way you want to start your day, because when you go outside and you take a big breath of fresh air and you ride your bicycle and you go to the store and you come home, your chances of having one of those experiences that they're describing on the news is really, really slim. I mean, how would you like to get up every morning and find out about all of the traffic fatalities that happened in the state of Florida yesterday? And the first thing they did was mention where they were driving, what happened, let you find out about the family who lost that loved one or was maimed or injured. I mean, you couldn't even function as a human being. We can't function like that. Yet that is what I'm hearing all the time on the radio. And it doesn't matter if it's NPR, it doesn't matter if it's town hall news, or if it's Fox or CNN. It doesn't seem to end. So I realize that, the only way to defend against and protect yourself, short of just turning it off, and of course I have turned it off, and then when I turn it on, I give it like, if it mentions coronavirus deaths or something right away, I turn it right off. If it that's like my litmus test. And well, since November, I mean, when I really realized that we were in trouble with this, with the radio and the information coming out, I have not made it past any station that didn't do it instantly. So what exactly is there to be concerned about here? And what can you do? I see, I'm a solution guy. I'm not somebody who is going to, I want to find a solution, and I want to find something that makes sense to me holistically, because I realize that I am showing up. There was many years ago, I realized that if I turned over my health to somebody else, if I turned over my income to somebody to provide it for me, if I counted on somebody else to feed me, if I counted on somebody else to make me happy, if I counted on somebody to come out and save me in the ocean when I failed to put gas in my boat, I can't function like that. I have to be able to be self-sufficient. And I think most people believe in that. So I like to go boating. I go out and we live so close to the Bahamas. I like to go offshore, 14, 15, 17 miles offshore. Cell phone doesn't work out there. You can't call somebody to help you. Yes, you have radios and you have satellites, but if you go out into the ocean and you're not prepared, you haven't checked your fuel, you don't have extra water in case something breaks and you got to drift out there. You don't want to go out there unprepared. If you do, you're a fool. And you don't deserve to die out there, but you should have been thinking about that. And if you don't know what to bring, you need to talk to somebody to teach you, hey, what do you bring when you go offshore? And I find that the cost of making sure that I have the right safety equipment to go offshore sometimes is a barrier to if I'm able to go. Right? I mean, how many people go out into the ocean, make the trek across to the Bahamas without a life raft? I mean, they don't spend the money for a good raft. I spent the money for a offshore raft, because I want a second option. If I hit something in the water out there and put a hole in my hull and it starts to sink, or God forbid, there's a fire somewhere on the boat and you got to get off the boat, and I've seen that happen, what's your next step? What's your option? And so I spent $6,000 on a raft, and I've never used it. I've had to have it serviced twice in the 6 years I've had it, because it expires after 3 years, and that's expensive. But, like my wife says, she thinks I'm going to die out there. That's her biggest concern, is when I leave and go offshore, because there's not a lot of help out there. So, but it's never happened, by the way. And I think the risks are, you push off the risks by mitigating it, by looking at what could happen and fixing it, and looking at what can happen and fixing it. And, you can go that analogy with anything in the world and in your life. When you get in your car and there's a high risk of death driving cars, 1 in 10 people will be in an auto accident every 10 years. That's the statistic. 60,000 people die from traffic fatalities, and half of them aren't their fault. Somebody ran into them. So you learn to mitigate injuries in a car by wearing your seatbelt, by having good tires, by not having brakes that are worn out and crap. In fact, they'll give you a ticket for having bald tires today because it's such a risk. Are you going to drive a something that's been made out of an aluminum can? This tiny car that Oh, it was a great deal and I get great gas mileage and some guy in an F-250 runs past you. I'd rather be in the bigger car myself. That's mitigating the fact that if you were to have a collision, the one with the most mass will win. See, that's why I'm still on the planet, I believe, because I look at things like that. You know, I don't really like motorcycles, street bikes. I think the meat protects the metal. I'd rather have the metal protect the meat. That's something for me personally. So I'm telling you all this because we are in the middle of a pandemic. Whether it's created or not, I'm not concerned with that. I believe there's a pathogen out there. I believe that it's been spreading from person to person, and that I believe that it can make you sick if and when you do get it. All right. What I don't believe in and what I cannot believe is that people are not really doing what it takes to make sure that when that COVID comes a knocking, and I think it's going to happen across the world, that you are healthy enough and you have fixed your body and you've mitigated the chance that if you were to get sick, you know, you're not going to die from it. You know, and I'd like to say, bring it on. You know, I'm here. I take care of my health. I have a very low body fat for my size. I take the vitamins and supplements. I've been raised, you know, I drink plenty of fresh water. I exercise. I have a very strong spiritual connection to my life. So if I was to die, I'd be okay with it. And I'm like, bring it on. You know, I'm okay with it. I've been sick before. I've recovered from every flu, cold, measles, mumps. I mean, you name it. I've been there. But that is the same as going out into the ocean. I always go out prepared. I never go out there without my safety gear. And I sometimes I tie it to my waist. I was out shrimping the other night. I go to the Sebastian Inlet at night and I shrimp. You know, it's fun. You set your boat up and you put the light out. And when the outcoming tide is coming, this big shrimp come floating through and you can dip them. You can net them. Well, I'm out there by myself. So I make sure that, you know, if I could fall in, because you're standing on the edge and that could happen. So I have a vest on. And then I also have a waterproof radio. So it's a VHF, and I have a little spot locator. It's this $150 device you buy online. It's a GPS. And if you go in the water, it lets them know where you are. And then I also put a line out the back of the boat with a float on it. That's about 15 feet long, because here's my thought. If I fall in and I'm in a current, you know, I'm a good swimmer, but you might miss grabbing the boat. So at least I could go out and then grab the rope in the back and pull myself back to the boat. Now, it would be better to go out there with a second person. That is true. But again, I look at the risks. I look at what I'm doing, and then I mitigate the risks by putting in intelligent action in case something happens. And I tell you, I could fall in, swim to that rope, pull myself in the boat. No problem. But if I didn't have that rope, think about it. What are you going to grab onto? You're going to yell at somebody it's dark. You're in Sebastian Inlet and the current's like 7 knots. Not going to happen. So let's talk about this. And this is not just the COVID virus, people. This is all pathogens. I don't want this to be that I don't believe that COVID exists, because I do believe it exists. But I also know that influenza exists, and more people die from influenza, you know, as many die from influenza as this. I also know that that hepatitis exists. I had a friend die 2 years ago from the hepatitis. He was one of my fishing friends, one of my very good friend. I couldn't believe it happened. Okay. And there was an attorney couple that died from hepatitis in their house in Palm City. You remember that. If you're from Stewart, you know exactly who I'm talking about. And they ate at the same restaurant that I eat at all the time, because it's supposedly a foodborne illness that somebody has on their hands, and then they prepare food. Well, they're unhealthy in their sanitary use of their hands, you know, going to the bathroom, and then they don't wash their hands, and then they transmit it to somebody else through food. And, you know, how do you stop that? How do you prevent that transmission? You do need to mitigate and prevent transmissions, but your chances are you could still get it. And so obviously other people had gotten that hepatitis through those exposures, but they didn't get sick enough to die because their immune systems, for some reason, were able to defend it. And I don't mean to say anything bad about somebody who has gotten sick from something. It doesn't mean that you're not a useful, that you have made all these mistakes, and, you know, but you still have to look at it. You have to look at your body, you know, you have to look at certain biomarkers of health. And that's what I'm really going to go into here in a second, is that, you know, these germs and pathogens and parasites and bugs and protozoas and these, you know, infectious agents, chemicals, viruses, RNA, they will never, ever go away. You will always be dealing with them. They have a kingdom, you know, in other words, their job is to exist, just like you have the human kingdom, and you've got the insect kingdom, and you've got the ants. They all are striving to exist. The reason why the COVID is mutating and changing is that's what viruses do. Whether it's you know, the earliest viruses we've ever known on the earth, they will always go after a cell, such as a bacteria. The virus will attack the cell. The cell will die until the cell builds an immunity to it. The cell builds a mechanism which prevents that virus from destroying it. It's called an immune response. And this happens on the cellular level. And then what happens is the virus mutates to get through the defense in that cell. And then it starts to raise its level of infections. You know, the kingdom comes back, and then the cells, they adapt again to defend the new mutation. And this has been going on since the beginning of time. And I really mean that. Since the beginning of time, and you can look it up. They're called prokaryotes and eukaryotes. The earth was filled with viruses, RNA viruses, before there was any life form. They were the earliest, they were believed to be the precursors of life. And then the bacteria came, these eukaryotes, which have a cell membrane, one-celled creatures, amoebas and things like that. And then those viruses, in order to survive, viruses have to replicate in a cell. So they attack those cells, and then the cells defend themselves by becoming immune. And that took millions of years to develop those responses. All of those things are put into you. You're an earthling. You know what that means? You came from the earth. I read something. It's a good idea to have a little dirt, you know, because you're made of dirt. Really, it's just organized, and it's intelligent because of a power, you know, there's a spirit that animates us. But I promise you, when the spirit leaves and you put somebody in the ground, they turn to dirt. So, you know, to think that this thing has mutated and there's a new variant and it's now getting past becoming more contagious, should not be anything new to you. It's definitely not new to the professionals. But here's the problem. To think that you can hold back the ocean tides because of some device, and it's tides are natural phenomena, that you think that you can stop the wind or water from splitting a rock in two. When you see the water that persistently works on it cracks huge boulders. And the fact that these germs and these viruses are mutating to create more what they want to do, which is get inside the cell, to think that you can make something in a lab, make it safe, put it out with millions and millions of people, is something that would seem to me to be a bit of a stretch. And I'm not saying it doesn't have its advantage, but again, are you willing to wait for that and put all of your hope in that? You know, are you willing to go out into the ocean, not bring a life raft, start sinking, and put your hope that the Coast Guard's going to come out and get you before you die? You know, and you could have prepared before you left the dock. And that's really the message that I'm putting in here is what are you going to do to prevent this, to prevent anything, any infection, any pathogen, any germ? You know, kids come home, they're new at school, the whole house gets sick. Is that the first time you've ever heard of that? I'm a chiropractor for 33 years. I know people have kids. I don't have kids myself, but my sisters have had tons of them. And I remember they came back from New York about 5 years ago. They all got sick in some place they were at. They went into the house. Everybody got sick in the house. And my mom's like, don't go over, you know, give them a call, give them a week. And everybody was fine. So I hope that you understand where I'm going with this. So now let's get to a solution. Now I can tell you that if you go on the website for the Centers for Disease Control, this is straight off the website. I'll hold it right up here in front of you so you can see it. Okay. And it tells you to act now. Big line. And what it tells you to do is wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, and avoid crowds. So that's what they're telling you to do. I've also been reading that they're wanting to recommend wearing 2 masks because of this new COVID. Yeah, 2 masks. I can't even breathe with 1 mask. And you want to put another one on me? So anyway, I believe, now remember, this is simply preventing the spread. This is not going to make you a healthier person by doing these things. This is just preventing somebody from infecting you or the infection from coming onto you. I'm talking about making sure that you are able to fight and defend on your own without their help. And if you need their help, go. Very important. But at least, you know, remember, you take 100 people and they all get the same pathogen, you know, 50, 75 of them have no symptoms. You know, 20 of them are very symptomatic and 5 die. I want to be the 50 that didn't get the symptoms. I want to be the person that went out into the ocean, had a problem, sunk, and had a life raft and made it out of that situation. So you have to prepare for this. So it's pretty easy to understand because right now this is in relation to the viral, this COVID-19, but this relates to any pathogen. People with certain medical conditions, it says. Okay, so we're learning more about COVID-19 every day. The below list of underlying medical conditions is not exhaustive and only includes conditions with sufficient evidence to draw conclusions. So the list I'm going to go over here of medical conditions make you vulnerable to getting COVID-19. In other words, that you have much more of a chance if you were to be infected, that this COVID would give you a really bad outcome because of these conditions, these medical conditions. In medicine, we call them comorbidities. Now, this should not be news to a lot of you. They've been talking about this a lot. So this list is meant to inform clinicians, doctors, to help them provide the best care possible. And I'm a doctor. So I'm here to help you provide the best care. And I'm looking at this list of what I can do to help you. That's my job. But I have to educate to tell you that you need to come in. I can't do it for you sitting here on this show or sitting in my office. You have to feel it's important enough to come in. So, but it does say to inform individuals about their level of risk so they can make individual decisions about illness prevention. So let me repeat that. This list is meant to inform doctors, to help them provide the best care possible for patients and to inform individuals about their level of risk so they can make individual decisions about illness prevention. Notably, the list may not include every condition that might increase somebody's risk for developing severe illness from COVID, such as those for which evidence may be limited. There are rare conditions. However, individuals with an underlying medical condition should consult with their healthcare providers about a personal risk factors and circumstances to determine whether extra precautions, and that doesn't mean isolation. I mean, I would want to, what else can I do to make my body stronger? Not just how else can I avoid it? All right. So these are not listed in a series of the most important first, by the way. This is just a list. So one might be more than others, but I do know there's 5 that are very important to know, that are huge comorbidities. And that would be cancer, chronic kidney disease, obstructive pulmonary disease or COPD, heart conditions, Down syndrome, an immune compromised state, a weakened immune system from a solid organ transplant. Now, that doesn't mean someone that just thinks that they get colds all the time. I mean somebody that had an organ transplant because they're on all those meds. And then obesity. All right. Now, that should get your attention. And that's a body mass index of higher than 30%. And severe obesity. Now, that's right up there with cancer, chronic kidney, COPD, Down syndrome, heart problems such as heart failure, coronary artery disease. Do you know what that is? That's arterial plaque. That is like from bad diet. Your arteries are getting hardened. The heart is not able to pump blood as easily. And this is the leading of cardiac disease. And how many out there have a solid organ transplant? Not too many. How many have Down syndrome? Not too many. How many have chronic kidney disease? That's pretty common. Kidney disease is chronic after the kidneys can no longer filter the blood, and a lot of it comes from excessive use of medications. NSAIDs can cause this, alcoholism, cancer. 3 out of 10. I'm sorry, 1 out of 3 will suffer with cancer at one point of their life. That's a big risk. Now you get down to obesity, over 30 kilograms, 30%. I can tell you that right now, the statistic for being obese in the United States, and this is off the CDC, is 40%. 40% of all adult women, 40% are obese if you're a female and you're over 18. Okay. In men, it's 30%. So that's a huge number. Severe obesity, that's a BMI of over 40%, and we see that a lot. And that usually happens in older people because they've lost their muscle tone. So, there are a bunch of other things on here. I'll just go through them real quick, but I'm going to get back to the one that I can help you with, which is obesity. So pregnancy is another risk, sickle cell disease, asthma, because it's a lung infection. COVID affects the lungs, and asthma can be very much a huge risk factor for having a bad outcome if you were to get COVID. Cerebrovascular disease, and that would be affects blood vessels and blood supply to the brain, people with aneurysms. Cystic fibrosis, another lung problem. Hypertension or high blood pressure. Now, if you hear that, you should hear, that beep, 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 beep. That should be going off in your head right now about hypertension and high blood pressure. Because here's a fact. If you're on hypertension medication or high blood pressure medication, and it's being regulated through medication, you still have hypertension. That's why you're on the meds. The meds mitigate and help to lower the pressure, but they're not fixing the problem. And you know that. But I'll tell you, that's probably, I see it all the time on people. Are you on any meds? You know, I feel good. I do these consultations. No, I'm good. My body fat's good. And I ask them, are you on any meds? Well, yeah, I'm on one high blood pressure medication, just one. Well, you've got hypertension. Why is your blood pressure up? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's too much body fat. Maybe it's an improper diet. Could it be there's an organ in your system which isn't functioning properly, and it's restricting blood flow, so the pressure went up to get the blood to that organ, to that system? There's a lot of reasons for hypertension. And I can tell you the cause of hypertension is not having the pill. You understand? If the pill, well, I have hypertension. Well, you don't have this pill in your diet. What do you mean? Well, this pill will prevent it. This is it. You know, that's not the truth. That's like saying I have a headache, and whoever believes that medicine is a cure for why you have a headache. It treats the symptom. It doesn't fix the cause. So does a blood pressure medication. So it says right here, hypertension or high blood pressure is one of the causes of being susceptible to COVID. All right. Neurological conditions such as dementia. Boy, that should scare the hell out of us. Do you know how many people have dementia as you get older? They have assisted living centers and memory centers for people that have lost their memory. Dementia, suffering with dementia. I don't even know the exact stats on it, but I bet it's 20, 30% of our people over 75 or 80 are suffering with some form of dementia. It says here it's a cause of, it can lead you to be susceptible to COVID. Liver disease, not that common, but you know what a form of liver disease is? A fatty liver. How many of you out there have been told you have a fatty liver? 50% of our country has a fatty liver. You know what that's from? Eating too much processed foods and foods which make your liver, when your body gets fat, your liver gets fat. Just remember that. You can't have a fat belly, and overweight and not also have a fat liver. And that can lead to liver disease. Overweight, which we already went over, pulmonary fibrosis, thalassemia, and type 1 diabetes, not type 2, which is interesting why they would say that. All right, you guys, I've got a few minutes left. You know, if you were to come into the spa, sign up for the program, meet with me, and I was to accept you into the program, your chances of reducing your body fat are 98%, unless you're a complete farce. Unless you're unless you've come in and completely misrepresented. But you know what? You can usually tell somebody that is. Just look at them. I love when somebody comes in and they're foaming at the mouth and they're falling over and there's like, did you have a drink? No, I haven't had a drink. Well, you look like you're drunk. Yeah, but I'm not. Okay. All right. So when you come into the spa, we have a 98% success rate because of the process, because I'm a doctor and I've experienced, when I get up in the morning and I go to sleep at night, I am thinking about how can I help people to get rid of body fat? How can I help them to make better choices? How can I make it easier for them? What can I teach them? I'm not selling products. I'm not selling pills, supplements, injections, phetamine. I'm not selling, apps that you put on your phone. I'm not selling an idea of a new diet, paleo. I am using a laser to assist with quick, fast fat reduction. And remember, top 5 is obesity of risks for COVID. And yet you think that it's okay that you still have all this body weight and then you're on blood pressure meds. It's I hope I've made a good case for you. And the best thing I can tell you is I'm offering a free consultation so you can come in and find out. Now, this weekend, the last weekend at this show I was at, I had some handouts and some signage which really pointed out that if you have weight and you have you're on these meds, and then the incidence of you having COVID, not getting it, because we're all going to get it, of you dying from it and having a horrible reaction is 40 to 50% increased if you have one or more of these issues. And some of the people saw it, came up and asked me a question. What do you mean? And I said, you see that picture on the wall? That was me. I was 265 pounds. I had a 40-inch belly. I had type 2 diabetes. That's a comorbidity. I had high blood sugar. That's another one. I had high cholesterol. And I was on my way to kidney disease, because when you have high blood sugar, your kidneys are failing, trying to get rid of all the extra sugar. I said, I laid on my back for 4 weeks. I put the laser on my belly. My staff did. And I cleaned up my diet just for that 4 weeks, meaning I stopped with the processed food. I ate vegetables and proteins and water. And I was able to lose 4 inches of girth. I went from a 34% body fat, which is obese, down to 28%, which is just overweight. My blood sugar cleared up. My cholesterol went down. My kidneys were saved, And then I continued to eat less for 3 months, cut out processed food, and I dropped 38 pounds. Now, would you rather if you know you're going to be exposed to COVID or any of these pathogens, do you think my outcome would have been better or worse before I lost the weight or after I lost the weight? I mean, that's just a simple question. Remember, I dropped 38 pounds. All my biomarkers improved. And this process is what I offer at the spa. If you're interested in coming in, get off the couch, pull your car over, call up right now, Dr. Tread's Slim Body Laser. I'm not even going to give you the phone number because you'll forget it. Just go to slimbodylaserspa.com. Let the staff know you want to come in for that free consultation. Bring in your wife, bring in your brother-in-law, bring in your neighbor who you don't get along with, because maybe you'll become friends, because you might give them some answers to help them to save their life. So that's really my message. I hope you give this to other people. You can go on Facebook, see it again. You can also go to YouTube, WSTU, and see it again. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.